New tonight, one of the mothers of a teenager involved in a fight at Westroads Mall just days ago is speaking out. She says she wants people to hear her son's side of the story.
Yeah, Jennifer, the mom of one of those teens cited with disorderly conduct, she tells me that she wants people to know that her son did not start that fight. The fight happened here at Westroads Mall just Thursday night. It all happened on the second floor of the mall Thursday night. We're told that the fight broke out between 30 to 40 middle school and high school age people. Among those detained, a 19-year-old, 4 others, all under the age of 16. Now, one of those teens' mothers says she's fearful for what could happen next. The family of that teen involved in the fight showed us some video from that night. She says she just wants her son's side of the story out there.
He didn't go out there to fight. He went out there to shop. That was not his intent. It definitely was not his intent to put his hands on a girl. Now, my son's not a woman beater. That's not even a part of the conversation. I don't even understand why or how that even came to be.
She doesn't feel like the whole story is being told. She says that she feels like there's a lot of rumors surrounding what actually went on that night. And right now, she says her biggest concern is her son's safety. She says she does not want to see any more violence.
Stop the violence.
1, 2, 3, 4. Oh, it's the Hake Report. The Hake Report. La la la. Oh, it's the Hake Report. The Hake Report. La la la.
Hey guys.
Oh, it's the Hake Report. The Hake Report.
Hugging.
La, la,
That's love.
Oh, it's the Hake Report. The Hake Report. La la la.
So, good morning, guys. I hope you had a very happy New Year. It is Thursday already, January 2nd of 2020, and I neglected to report on these mall riots. You know, the blacks are always doing these mall riots. I wonder if these are included in that less than 2% of blacks who commit violent crimes, according to Joe from Phoenix. And then I will get to your calls, 888-775-3773. Some of you guys are already calling in. I just wanted to present to you just a quick little reminder about black mall riots. So common, right? Around the country. I just showed you scenes from one that took place in Omaha, Nebraska. And I feel like I've heard of Omaha experiencing mall riots in the past. Let me just show you another one from Cincinnati, Ohio, the same night, Thursday night, the day after Christmas. Pretty much a week ago, right? The day after Christmas. This is from Cincinnati, Ohio, clip 12, Joelle. 12 arrested after a massive fight involving teens breaks out at Northgate Mall, police say. WLWT.
The smiles came to a halt Thursday evening.
It was scary because, you don't know what the kids are going to do.
Coleraine police say hundreds of teens arrived at the mall in droves, and that's when things took a turn.
I had a feeling that something wasn't right, and then when I looked up to the food court, I heard a bunch of yelling, and then all the kids from everywhere just bum rushed up to the food court.
Police say that's where a massive fight broke out. Witnesses describe kids physically fighting with police officers. Individual stores began closing their front gates, and shoppers were ducking and hiding inside stores.
Come on, guys, keep going.
At least 11 juveniles and an adult were arrested. Coleraine police want both kids and parents to know they're upping patrols.
We're hoping they're going to hear this message. At the doors this evening will be a police officer with that letter. They'll be handing them out, trying to deal with it in a way that we hope will be palatable to everybody.
Mall employees like Lee were scared to come back into work today, but are hoping for a more peaceful shift.
When I heard about they're going to have more patrol, that kind of relieved me a little bit, and I know it's going to relieve a lot of other stores that's, employees in there.
And as you can see right here, at every single entrance to the mall, there are police officers that are stationed right here. So they're really upping patrols in this area. They also want to really enforce that the curfew is in effect. So after 5 p.m., nobody that is under the age of 18 is allowed on this premises or the premises around here without a supervised adult.
Crazy. Did you ever have a curfew, Joelle? I never had a curfew. as far as the cops telling us that we couldn't be out past 10 without an adult. Or past 5, actually, past 5.
You mean given by a parent?
Given by the cops.
Oh, no, never.
Or by
Not
the
in the
local mall.
areas I
The
lived in.
local mall ever tell you, hey, you
No.
kids, you're here past 5 p.m. That
No.
is nuts. Are whites doing this? I'm wondering. I see blacks doing it all the time. And the reason I'm bringing this to you is because, like, I've kind of taken it for granted after a while, because I've been working for the Jesse Lee Peterson show and attending his church and listening to the radio show after hearing about Trayvon Martin and Obama being elected and the riots that were taking place, the blacks just being so full of rage, robbing stores, just mobbing stores, descending on places like gas stations in places like Louisville, Kentucky, I think, and places in Louisiana, just mess all over the place. And they're out of control, and they've been out of control. And then you have the mothers coming in, my son is not like that. He wouldn't put his hands upon a woman. And I don't know what the rumors are that she's so concerned about, but it seemed more like she didn't, I don't know. It seemed like she was doing PR to keep her son out of jail or something. But I don't know, I'm just speculating. But it just, and I looked into the numbers, the statistics, because I see all these Colin Flaherty videos and other videos about black violence, black on white crime, these mobs going wild. And you heard about, even way back with the Central Park 5, when I was a little kid, Joel probably was like 2. Central Park 5 thing happened when? In the early 90s, did it? The black kids, right, and Hispanics, I think, were doing what was called wilding. And they would go into Central Park and just go wild, rob people, or just be wild, take people's bikes and stuff, beat people sometimes. Central Park 5 were involved in beatings, and then they were suspected of rape. They admitted to rape, and there was no evidence that their confessions were forced or coerced, but now you have all this propaganda against that, pretending that they were coerced, and that only one Mexican guy who had been or Matthias, whatever his name was, so only one guy who was not involved with them, the 5, confessed to the rape later, but he was never punished for it or tried for it. But it just makes me wonder, like, this has been going on a long time, and it hasn't really gotten better. The violent crime has gone down. That's good, because the violent crime was skyrocketed in the early 90s and 80s and 70s. It was when it really started to increase. You can see the numbers even in California. From Jesse Lee Peterson's book, The Antidote, Healing America from the Poison of Hate, Blame, and Victimhood, like the numbers from 1956 to 1970-something, the murders just increased 6-fold. And that's per share of the population. Because yes, the population increased too, right? But if you account per capita, the murders increased 6-fold. And that was the sexual revolution, the welfare for single mothers, not for married couples, stuff like that. And I've looked into the stats for like juvenile numbers for rapes. The blacks are arrested for rape like way more. And then the interracial violence, blacks are out of control there. But people like Joe from Phoenix, Arizona want to say, 2%, less than 2% of blacks commit violent crime. And when I say it's disproportionate compared to the rest of the population. No. Just outright denies it. By the way, he accused the justice system of an anti-black bias, or the police, right? Because supposedly drug use amongst blacks and whites is both like 12%, according to him. And yet, blacks are convicted at higher rates and serve longer sentences by like 5 times, is what he says. But that doesn't mean anything, because if you read that letter that Jesse Lee Peterson covered years back, in American Renaissance it appeared. American Renaissance at amren.com is a website run by Jared Taylor, who's a white advocate, but nonetheless, what he puts out is true. I haven't seen him put out anything deceptive or deceitful. And it was an open letter from a public defender talking about how blacks don't show up to court. When they show up to court, they don't dress right, or they just generally don't get along. And so, of course, they're going to end up serving these longer sentences. And Colin Flaherty, who's a journalist, points out that the crimes for which people are convicted, blacks in particular too, are not the crimes that they committed. These are the crimes that they got caught for and that they can get convicted on. They often take plea deals down, and when they take those plea deals, they take a harsher sentence for a lesser charge. And it's better in the long run for them, but they do take it looks like a disproportionate sentence for such a small charge, but in reality, they had committed much worse crimes than is actually on the books. So, of course, they're going to serve longer sentences because they're committing more crimes. And then, of course, they're going to be caught more because they're doing it in the open, smoking the pot in the open, whereas the white kids do it behind closed doors. They don't really go out. And then on top of that, they're in communities that experience more policing, thank God. And many of the black parents, mothers, are thanking God that the police are there enforcing the law, because these get more policing because there's more crime, violent crime, and drug dealing and all that stuff. And on top of that, these drug dealers tend to go to jail, not drug users. If you're in possession of a certain amount, above a certain amount, some of the laws are like this, where you go to jail because it looks like you're distributing. You're a dealer. So this is just a little side note about that stuff. And by the way, another thing, if anything, the bias is in favor of the criminals. That black so-called anti-Semitic lady who was arrested, did you guys report on that? I think the Jesse Lee Peterson show reported on this. That black lady who attacked 3 Jewish women or something like that in New York City. She got out with no money bail. And then she went out and like punched it or assaulted another woman. Don't know whether she was a Jew. And then she was arrested again. And then she got out with no bail again. Out with no bail again for this madness. Reminds me of Trayvon Martin, who should have been in jail for suspected burglary and all that other stuff. But it reminds me of that guy who did the shooting over in Marjorie Stoneman Douglas High School over in Florida. Wasn't that guy Nicholas Cruz? Is that his name? Anyways, that guy, there's like these, he'd been in trouble with the law a little bit, but then they don't want to send these black and Hispanic guys to jail, or they don't want to suspend them for their disrespect for the defiance of the teachers and stuff. If anything, the bias is in favor of the criminals, especially the criminals of color. And that letter to that public defender is crazy. I should pull that out and link it and share it to you guys. Jesse Lee Peterson, I think he might have interviewed Jared Taylor about that incident, because I was producer at that time when that came out. I think it was called Letter from a Public Defender. Spoiler alert, if he's watching, he may be able to find it and link it to you guys in the YouTube live chat. But it's nuts. So just wanted to share that stuff with you. It's crazy that it's so out of control. You know how when you're less moral, you're less free? Well, those kids, because they're so immoral, they're so wild, they don't get to be out at night. I remember I used to hang out with my friends sometimes at the mall till like 10 p.m. around Christmas time. And none of us were over 18. And that's much later than 5 p.m., but we were pretty well-behaved kids. Bunch of Hispanics, Asians, whites. We weren't doing that stuff. I used to think that Hispanics were as bad as the blacks, but I didn't realize it was just wild. Just an interesting thing. And yeah, you can see the other races falling in this direction. And then, of course, with different races and different people have different symptoms that come out of the anger that they catch from their parents. Because the whites are not doing too well. They are getting pretty bad. Anyways, let me get to some calls, and then I'm going to talk about... I want to talk a little bit about the Bible. And then hopefully Trump and Hitler. Some stupid singer said that Trump... I don't know if I'm going to bother with that right now. But I got some good tips. Communist China did a hit piece, by the way, on the Second Amendment. And then there was this climate alarmist Pentagon report from 2004. Spoiler alert, sent this to me. From 2004 in The Guardian, I think they exclusively received a report from the Pentagon that was going to embarrass the George W. Bush administration because they were climate deniers, right? And basically they had dire predictions for England and for the world, saying that there's going to be nuclear war and all kinds of madness over shortages in food supplies and all that stuff. It is crazy. So I may get to some of that stuff. But first, let me get to some calls. Steve out of New York City. Steve, how are you? First-time caller.
Hey.
Hey.
I'm doing okay. I'm doing great. Love your show. Love Jesse Lee Peterson's show.
Thank you.
I listen to it almost every day. I grew up in New York City. And my mom drove me and my sister away from my father. And then she went on her own and hid us from my father. And by the time I was age 10, we were living in the projects. My mother told me, she told a 10-year-old me that she didn't like the way she was dominating me, that I should live with her parents. And they lived in Cyprus, the island of Cyprus in Europe. So I was sent there as a punishment, but it was the greatest thing in the world for me. I was out in the sheep and all that, goats and the mules and everything. I was great.
Wow.
Came back when I was 14 years old, and back to the projects, and I said to myself, why did I come back? I had no idea. Why did I come back? I was introduced to my sister's friends, and they were black. I had no problem with that, nothing at all. And these black kids, they got together with me. They were friends of my sister's, and they were telling me at age 14 that I should watch out for white men. And I was like, are you guys, I was shocked. I didn't know what to say.
Yeah.
Hey, hello, I'm white, hello,
Right.
And I was like, I can't believe I'm saying this. And they were telling me that a Jew is a double whitey, so stay away from him. I'm 57 years old. I've got black friends. I've got white friends. I got friends that are gypsies. I got a friend, one of my closest friends is a Hasidic Jew. And he told me that, he was told by his community that stay away from the white people and they stay only with the Jewish. And I'm like, and he was like, but you're a cool guy. I don't understand it. Anyway.
He didn't understand it, or you didn't understand?
No, he didn't understand why his Jewish community told him never to trust anyone outside of being Jew.
And whites in particular.
Yeah.
Everybody hates whites. It's crazy.
It's crazy. If you're in America today, the most hated group of people, and I said this 25 years ago, and
yeah.
I got destroyed for saying this. Straight, male, white, Christian. That's it. If you're straight, male, white, Christian, you are the epitome of hate.
Yeah, because there's so much propaganda about them. and then they don't know
incredible.
how to just speak up and be normal. Less than ever. It used to be pretty outspoken.
I've been
like
divorced now for 20 years, and I don't search for girls. You come in my life, you come in my life. I don't care. You know, you want to come to me in my life, that's good. But I've been single for 20 years. A lot of people call me an incel. No way, not me. And a lot of times people say, well, your wife cheated on you. Well, you must have done something wrong. I'm like, excuse me, she was the one that cheated. She admitted to cheating. She cheated. She left me and walked into her new boyfriend's house in like 2 minutes. But I did something wrong. And it's that exact mentality that people have against the male. Your wife left you, your wife cheated on you, you must have done something wrong. It's crazy. It's insane.
Interesting,
you know?
man. Well, I wish you well, Steve. Nice to hear from you.
Thank you. Keep up with the good work, Hake.
All right. Call again, man.
Bye-bye.
Bye. Let me get to Rick out of Hampton, Virginia. Rick, what's up?
James, Happy New Year to you, brother. What's going on?
Happy New Year to you. Everything's fine.
Man, I got a question for you. You've been seeing a post, somebody was saying, I saw a post on Facebook saying that President Trump said that he done more for the country than Christ did.
Oh, there's a Facebook post saying that Trump said this about himself?
Yeah.
I don't think that he said that.
I haven't heard him say that either, but he's throwing stuff. You can't believe hardly nothing on Facebook.
True.
You know?
Yeah, you know what? I don't buy that these people are they like to put words in his mouth. It's just like when they say it's just like when he said Nazis are very fine people, and he never acknowledged that there were any Nazis. There was no Nazis in America. He kicked out the last Nazi. So there are no Nazis, and for the other thing, like he denounced the white nationalists, even though he maybe didn't need to, but yeah, it's lies. But he has done a lot for Christians.
Yeah,
and
I agree totally. I totally agree.
Yeah,
and he's and that's always these godless people. They go around just I think half the people that don't like Trump don't even know why they don't like him.
And the Bible does say that Jesus' followers would do greater things than Jesus. That's what Jesus said.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. So, now.
Yeah, I know. That's a good word. Yes, sir.
Yep. I appreciate the tip, Rick. I didn't know that had been floating around on Facebook.
Yeah, I like, wow. I said, and one thing about me, I try to never share nothing if I don't know the whole thing about it, because you could be sharing a lie.
Yeah. All right, Rick. Thank you, man. Appreciate it.
No problem. Yep. Happy New Year. Love you guys. Be good.
You as well. Take care. Let me get to Joe out of Phoenix, Arizona. I was just talking about him earlier. Joe, what's up? Happy New Year to you.
Happy New Year to you. Yeah, you got to call me out there.
Yeah. Yeah, because you called in in the last like 10 minutes, and I didn't get to you until like the 30 seconds to go. So I was just responding to the your whole only 2%, less than 2% of blacks commit the crime, and they're disproportionately punished. So there's bias. What did you mean by there's bias? There's bias.
You're lying when you say that. I never acknowledge that it's a problem. I always acknowledge that it's a problem.
No, I said it's disproportionate, and you say no.
No, I never say that either. I say yes. I always say that the few black folks that do those kind of crimes do it disproportionately. That is clear in the numbers.
Thank you.
Can't deny that. But my point is that, yes, there's still a very small percentage of black people that do that. So why are the majority of us that don't do that characterized the same way with the few that do bad things?
You're not.
And
where in your mind? Where in your mind is that happening? Where you're characterized as that?
You're a boss.
Huh?
Most black people, you're a boss. Most black people do this.
Jesse Lee Peterson does not characterize Joe. or
He
the
says
rest of you
most.
guys as violent.
Or does he not? He says most, correct?
He says most.
Right. And it means most black people, and that's absolutely
He's
a
not
lie.
talking about, maybe you should ask him what he means then, rather than accuse him of lying and stuff.
I have, and
Because-
he just lies and deflect.
No, you're the one lying and deflecting.
No, I'm giving the real fact.
No, but you're accusing Jesse of saying something that he's not saying.
James, he says most. You just said he says most.
Yeah,
Yeah, and that's a lie.
and that's not you. Most doesn't mean Joe.
I didn't say he said me specifically. I said most, and that's a lie in and of
How do you
itself.
know that how do you know that that's a lie?
Because the stats don't back him up on
The
on that,
stats, the
period.
stats lie, and the stats don't document all of the violence in the black community.
So how do you know that he's telling the truth?
I don't. I'm not the one claiming that he's
Exactly.
lying. You're the one claiming falsely that he's lying.
So he has no proof.
You
He's
have
just
not asked
saying
him what
crap.
he means by it.
I have to.
No, you have not. Or you wouldn't be.
specifically
Or you wouldn't be
asked him.
harping on this.
No, I specifically asked him why he says most black people are retarded because of out of wedlock birth rate. And he says, well, it's wrong, isn't it? I said, well, yeah, but 500,000 to 1 million black people per year having babies is not most black people. And he just glossed right over that.
Because it is something to gloss right over. Those are
No,
just
because
symptoms.
because that's
Those are.
a lie.
Hey, Joe. The violence.
Hey, James.
The
1
violence.
million is not most of
The
4 million,
violence.
period.
The violence and the abortions and the out of wedlock births. Those are just symptoms. You don't seem to realize how bad it is in the black community, and you're part of it.
James,
You're part of it.
I realize it. I'm not part of it. And
Yes,
I'm the
you
one
are.
who-
You are part of it because you're
he-
attacking the one who's
really-
trying to help.
He's not trying to help at all.
Yes,
And
he is trying to help.
admits-
See?
He admitted he's not trying to help.
Yes, he is
said
trying to
it was
help.
effective.
I admitted that he doesn't
said
care because he loves them. He doesn't care.
about being effective and helping it. He would rather insult than
But you don't know what effective is, Joe.
I do because I do it every single day. I do.
No, you don't know what effective is. Because
do.
you think that Trump is not effective because he insults people. You think that Jesse is not effective even though blacks are calling in every day waking up. And you're just in outright denial because you can't see, you're blind.
To common sense crap, yeah.
Yes, common sense crap. Jesse
sense crap.
preaches common sense crap, in your word, all the time. That's his main thing. But you think that his main thing is to denigrate blacks.
Because he does
Which
that
is not even
to
true,
himself.
by the way. He's just telling the
absolutely
truth
true.
about it, and you attack him over
no
it
truth
because you're an
at all.
intellectual blind person.
James, you're
You
filibustering
think like
because
a
you know you're
rhino.
wrong.
You
You're
think like a
filibustering
rhino,
because
where you
know
can't
you're wrong.
see, you don't see the
You're
depths.
filibustering because you know you're wrong.
I'm not wrong. You're part of the. You're exposing
And
yourself.
Most black people are not evil, retarded, violent thugs. Period. That is
He
fact,
never
and
said
you can't-
most black people are evil, retarded, violent thugs.
He said that constantly. What are
But
you
when-
talking about?
but
Now-
when people-
now you just flat out lying.
No, he
Now
does
you
not
just
say
flat
that.
Out lying. He does.
He doesn't
Now
say
you
that.
just flat out lying.
He
does.
says most black people. He may say most black people are violent. May say most black people are retarded. I've never heard him say most black people are thugs. So you are lying.
Absolutely, yeah. No, you're lying.
Okay, well you're
Absolutely
immature. Anyways,
You're absolutely lying.
you're blind. You don't know what you're talking about, and
James,
you're
you
accusing
promote evil
the
every
one
day
man
on
who's
yourself,
part of
and
the
there will be a
solution.
reckoning. Part of the solution. He said he doesn't care about being effective. He's lying there too.
He didn't say that. I said that he doesn't care.
No, he said that to me specifically.
Because you're so dumb. It doesn't sink in what he
James,
means by that.
You live in a crappy apartment and you're 40 years old with no wife and no kids. You're the epitome of dumb.
You're lying again.
even
You're
try
making
that.
stuff up. I was going to bring this
Really?
up. I was thinking about how he made up the lie that I live in a crappy apartment. My room, I will admit, my room is a ghetto. And so I am black on the inside, right? My room is a ghetto, but it's not for one, it's not an apartment. For two, it's not a crappy apartment. And three, I'm not 40, I'm 38. But I'll let you slide on that one because people call me 40 because they just round up. But whatever my issues are, it's irrelevant because it doesn't change the fact that you're blind. You don't see Jesse for what he is. You don't see the truth. You think like a rhino. You're like, oh, Don't
You
talk
just don't
bad
wanna
about the
admit
blacks.
That's you're wrong and evil because you love to denigrate and insult black people. That's all you're about.
That's not true.
It is true.
All right. You're blind,
100%
Joe.
true.
Goodbye.
Yeah, goodbye.
All right. What a sucker. He sinks pretty low, huh, when he's all mad. No, I'm not 40. I'm 38. Almost 38 and a half. It's a shame, right? So let me get to Lynn out of Chicago, Illinois. Lynn, what's up?
Hey, how you doing?
Doing fine. What's up?
Hey, to your recent caller, Joe, I would say, given the fact that I have a minor in Soviet foreign policy, to Joe, let's pull one out of Uncle Joe's playbook, Tavarish Stalin. No man, no problem. You know, Uncle Joe always used to say that. If you have no man, you have no problem. You know, and then he would send people off to the gulags in Eastern Russia.
Crazy.
So yeah, I was gonna mention to you, I was in a McDonald's recently in Hillside, Illinois, and while I was out there, I was in the bathroom and I saw a sign that said, "If you see anybody doing drugs in the bathroom, to call the police." And I went and asked the manager about it, and he told me that the reason why he put that in there, the sign, was because on the weekend, on Saturday, a white couple, you know, a father and son, found a black drug addict doing heroin in the bathroom. The father became outraged, went in, and severely beat this man half to death, that they cleared the McDonald's out. And I was like, wow, I cannot enjoy a meal at McDonald's right now from this.
Wow.
From this drug epidemic.
You know, they've been putting needle dispensers in Starbucks around up and down the West Coast, I think, because of the people doing drugs in their bathrooms. It's a mess.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Well,
yeah, I mean,
and then it's a pretty messed up story too.
Yeah, and the thing is, that, you know, like you mentioned earlier, white people getting out of control. You know, I'm like, damn, you know, white people getting out of control right here, beating up crackheads.
Yeah, that's what happens when you don't stand for what's right. When it's a minor problem, it becomes a major problem.
And then shortly, yesterday,
and you say, "Oh, let the blacks deal with their own problems." That's not the way. It spreads.
Yeah. I don't know. The whole thing's pretty ridiculous. And then they legalized marijuana over here. Well, you know, there will be, there will be a going back period. You know, and during the turn, you know, at some point during the turn of the century, you know, that was a really big thing of, you know, drug dispensaries and all that stuff.
Yeah.
You know, society looked at it after a while and turned it back. And, you know, later on, I guess 80 years later, we want to go back. Society, no, I think 100 years later, society wants to go back to it. You know, doing the whole drug thing again.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's crazy.
It's a mess. It's not good. They think that they have shallow solutions. They just think that it's a matter of the laws. It's the laws that are messed up. It's the laws that destroyed families. It's so fake. They know that they're lying too. Anyway, Lynn, I appreciate you, man.
All right, no problem.
Happy New Year to you.
Have a nice day, and you have a nice day.
All right, take care. Mike out of San Antonio, Texas. Mike, good to hear from you.
Hey, good to hear from you, James.
Happy New Year, man.
Happy New Year. And I'd like to let you know,
Mike, you're breaking up. Come closer to the phone.
Okay, I'd like to let you know that if you got a crummy place and you need a decent place, come on to San Antonio. I can rent you out a place.
I appreciate that, man. No, I'm very happy with my spot. It's a mess. I need to follow, what's his name, Jordan Peterson's advice. Clean your room.
Oh, yeah. Everything in its place. Your mind
Yeah.
thinks better with things in place.
Yep.
But anyway, I'm gonna dispel this rumor from Joe, Mays, and all these other black people for this year. I may never call you again this year, but this is going to be it. It is most, and the most are, it doesn't matter the percentage that's doing it. They might be the bullet, but Joe, Mays, and all these other people, they're the gunpowder behind that bullet. They support these people. They support them they vote Democrat. They support them they read these stupid black newspapers. They support them in every way possible. So they're all enablers, and they know it. Everybody knows it, and they will not live in a black neighborhood. I don't care if they left home. They haven't lived in a black neighborhood. In fact, they probably even date white people. I know Mays lives in a white neighborhood. I used to live in Fairborn. So it's just all a scam. They know it's the truth. They are enablers. They may not do it themselves, but the way they present their lives, the churches they go to, the organizations they support, the black fraternities, the 8A contracts that they get, the black businesses get, all this stuff is the support system for the criminality.
You know, man, it's not just the liberals. I happen to know that Joe is not a Democrat. He's a RINO. And most black so-called conservatives hate white people too, and they hate the truth. They hate Jesse. And Joe is part of that. And so he may work with the Urban League or something like that, trying to help the young blacks being a good coach and stuff, being a good example. But he's soft, he's weak, and he doesn't see reality. He doesn't have moral clarity. He doesn't see that the Democrats are evil, outright evil. He defends Obama a lot. And so, like I said, like what Jesse says, most even black conservatives hate white people still. They're not seeing clearly. They just believe, oh, it needs to be a mix of blacks in both parties, what Jesse surmises they believe. And sometimes they say that. But you're right, man. People like Earl from Michigan supports the Democrats, and then Mays, she's just nasty. You can tell that she's a liberal. She believes in abortion. She's like, I don't have any. She's all, it's not your business for people to kill babies. And then she's in denial of the black violence because she's all, you can find the same thing in the white communities. When I don't see any white version of Colin Flaherty, white crime version of Colin Flaherty finding all these videos of the out of control blacks. And these are just symptoms. There's a deeper problem within the culture of black America and around the world too.
Right. Again, James, the question I always ask them, and again, you're right, the black conservatives, most of them aren't really conservative. They will not. Black conservatives, white, anybody who say they're black and who say black people are the same as white, why don't they live near black people? Because there's a reason. They know the reason.
Yeah.
They don't want their house broken into. They don't want their crime. They don't want their home values depreciated.
Right.
None of them live near black people. They may go in there and get some chicken every once in a while or go to church. But they're not going to live in that neighborhood. You remember I made that offer years ago that she denied and wouldn't do.
Right, to Mace.
I'll give you one last thing. The one big thing they always say is, remember Emmett Till, right?
Yeah.
Well, let's do this. Have one of your staff look up Lewis Till. Who was Lewis Till? Lewis Till was Emmett Till's daddy. Lewis Till beat his wife so much that they said either go to the army or we're going to put you in jail. Lewis Till went over to World War II, raped white women, killed an Italian white woman, and ended up being executed. So if they're going to mention Emmett, let's mention Lewis too.
Wow. That's wild. Appreciate that tip, Mike. Will do. All right, Mike. Appreciate you, man. Happy New Year.
All right, you too.
And hear from you next year, I guess.
Well, I may call in when they get too ridiculous.
Right.
They can't get too ridiculous. I don't think they get it.
All right, Mike. Take care, man.
All right.
All right. You know what? Let me get to Lauren out of Idaho, first-time caller. Lauren, how are you doing?
I'm doing all right. How are you, James?
Doing fine, thank you.
Happy New Year.
Happy New Year to you. Thank you.
So I got to tell you, I've been listening for a while. At first, I thought I didn't think too much of you. I mean, I liked you being part of the Jesse Lee Peterson show, but it seemed like you had a lot of Jesse's mannerisms for a while.
Yeah.
But like almost down to like the way you would move your hands and stuff, which isn't a bad thing. It's just having your own show and watching it separately from Jesse's didn't warrant me the extra hour to watch and spend my day doing it.
I understand.
But I got to say, lately you've really come into your own. You're really taking on your own kind of fakeness, and I enjoy it. You get some similar caller to the Jesse Lee Peterson show, but the way you deal with them and the way you talk to them is it's like you're coming into yourself, and I really enjoy your show now.
Well, thank you, Lauren. I appreciate that. Yeah,
so I got a response to something that May said. I think it was 3 days ago now, and you had a conversation with her, and she, at the end of the conversation, she wanted you to name any crimes that the black population does that the white population doesn't.
Okay.
And your response was, well, that's a silly question because we all do the same crimes.
Yeah.
And I remember thinking, that's true because we're all born sinners. We're all human, and therefore we all have the same kind of thoughts. And, it's not like one race you would think has any specific crime that's endemic to them.
Yeah.
But afterwards, thinking about it, there is one crime that's very specific to the black community that's extremely disproportionate to any other, and that is the targeting and raping of women based on their skin color. For instance, overwhelmingly, every single day we read about or hear about incidents where black men have raped a white woman. And from what we're told from criminologists and policemen and psychologists, that rape isn't a crime of sex, it's a crime of conquest and of rage. So it's not like these black men are so sexed up that they just have to rape a white woman. They're doing it based on their skin color and to prove a point or to express their rage at the white race. And the reason I say this is because we don't see any gangs of roving Asian kids going out and doing this. There's no Asian kids going out and raping black women. There's no roving gangs of Irish men going out and raping black women. There's no roving gangs of Jewish kids or Catholic high school kids going out and targeting black women. I know of one case that was mentioned, and that Jesse mentions it in his book, The Antidote, where he mentions the Tawana Brawley case, where she was supposedly abducted by white men, raped, left her in a trash can, smeared feces on her, and wrote words all over her.
Yeah.
But that turned out to be a complete fabrication.
Yeah.
So my point that there is a disproportionate amount of crime where black men are targeting white women to rape.
It's interesting because it is factual that there's
what I'm saying? I mean,
I'm looking at I've looked at the 2008 stats, which is the last time they counted black on white versus white on black.
Stats,
and you saw like 20,000 supposed rapes or sexual assaults anyways of black on white. And then it was basically zero of white on black. And
that's what I'm saying. I mean,
and then under the Obama administration, they stopped counting it. But
exactly. So
all of those, all of the violent crimes are disproportionate to the blacks. And you're right. I remember.
We know that. I mean, you mentioned Colin Flaherty before, and I follow him in Vines and some other stuff. And we know that, you and me know just from watching and from having other people tell us this, because the media doesn't come out and say this, but as we know, even my girlfriend was accosted by a bunch of blacks when she went to Paris last year at New Year's. So when they slipped her a Mickey and they tried to rape her.
That was over in France?
That was in France and Paris. She was over there for work last year doing New Year's, and I told her specifically. I said, "Do not go out in France. The men do not have the same morals as us. It's not like America." And she's like, "Oh, you know, I just want to go have some drinks with the girls." And sure enough, she went to a bar. She thinks someone put something in her drink because she felt horrible all of a sudden. She was going to pass out.
It's crazy.
And the bartender, who was a big black man, tried to pull her into a back room with some other men. Luckily, she had a bunch of girlfriends there from work, and they went in and they caused hell, and they got her out of there. And of course, the next day, she's like, "Lauren, you were right. I can't believe this." And I'm like,
man,
"Why
I remember this story from a few years ago where this black college athlete had sex with this white woman, and then he said, basically, I think it was a rape. It turned out being a rape, and supposedly he had said this was for slavery or something like that. So that is in the minds of some of them. That's true.
Well, the
it's
thing
nuts.
is
and he's a college athlete. He's
telling
doing fine. He doesn't know anything about slavery. Sure. But Lauren, man, you're right. Appreciate you.
Yeah, I just wanted to comment on that because I agreed with you at first because, being human, we all commit the same amount of crime. We all
not the same amount.
Crime.
It's not the same amount.
Right.
It's just
but
that
not the same amount. Yes, we all exactly. That is the point. Like I said, at first I agreed with you, and then I thought about it, and then I tried to look up some facts. I remember Jesse's book mentioning that case, and I'm like, wait a second. There actually is some crime that is committed on a level that's like 1,000 times out of whack compared to everyone else.
But it's crazy, man, because the blacks are never going to listen to these facts. They're going to keep their minds shut. I mean, the facts don't change minds. Only the truth does.
You were arguing, I forgot with the last caller, or you were discussing with the last caller about basically the amount of crime and people not reporting it. But the truth is it's only reported almost always if it's a white person.
I know.
For instance,
the media is
just happened in New York with the black man attacking the Jewish community. That would have been, if that was a white man, there would be people in the streets rioting. It would be,
sure.
But since it's a black man, it just doesn't fit the narrative. So, that one
CNN
had to be
doesn't cover it
because it was so heinous. But usually those things don't even get reported.
Yeah. Thanks, Lauren. Appreciate you, man. Take care.
I love you, Jay. I love you, James. I love everyone there, and have a great 2020.
All right. Happy New Year. Yeah, CNN tries to be like the Colin Flaherty for white crime, especially white on anybody else. Anyways, James out of Denver, Colorado, first-time caller. James, what's up?
Hey, James.
Hey, James.
Hey, so I just wanted to quickly comment about the legalization of marijuana.
Yes.
I've been in Colorado my whole life, and it was a good idea at the time to legalize it. It was bringing in money. But it's also brought in tons of people, a lot of liberals. We used to be conservative here in Colorado. It's starting to change. And it looks like it's spreading across the country. They're bringing in marijuana, and all it does is dumb people down.
Yeah, it's true, man. And then the people act like it's not about getting high. They act like it's only about health. When some of them take it for health, but not for... I don't know. It's a mess. Dr. Singh used to come on the Jesse Lee Peterson show, and he said that there's some that doesn't have the THC that's not for getting high, but the whole culture is about getting high. And
Absolutely.
It was ridiculous to see that. Was that a lieutenant governor out of Minnesota somewhere?
Yeah,
a black female who went and bought it? Disgusting. That's crazy.
Yeah, Illinois, I think.
Yeah, it might have been. I don't remember. Lieutenant Governor Juliana Stratton out of Illinois. Yeah, it's a mess.
Yeah, they're saying, it's freedom and, it's a great thing. It brings in money. I think they were actually going to give a lot of that money as reparations in one state I had heard, which is only fueling more fire in this culture war.
Michigan, maybe? It's nuts because they should be, rather than saying, it's better for you than alcohol, they should be shaming alcohol and pot rather than taking away the shame of all this stuff. It should be being shaming drunkenness and all that mess.
Anything that's going to dumb you down is only hurting us.
Yeah.
You know.
It's true. Man.
I appreciate you guys, and I voted for legalization a long time ago, and Jesse Lee has woken me up, and I appreciate all you guys on the show. So
that's a great report, man. That's a good report. Appreciate you. Happy New Year, James.
Yeah, brush off the haters.
All right, man. Take care.
All right, thank you.
All right. Bye. Malkuth X says, Hake, when do you find facts and data credible? You often dismiss facts and data as lies/intellectual, yet you use them to support your own points. That's because when you talk about how disproportionate and out of control the blacks are, and then you have somebody like Joe Kenyon coming in and saying less than 2%, it's a very small percentage. And then he tries to accuse Jesse of only denigrating blacks. You know that he's to be dismissed. These are irrelevant facts. An example of an irrelevant fact is when I'm talking about black on black crime. They commit murder against one another at 4 times the rate per capita. So they're knocking off each other at 4 times the rate that the whites are knocking each other off. And then Earl, thinking he's smart, from Michigan, a black guy, he'll call in and say, well, 84% of white crime is against white people, as if the proportion of the crime that's against white people is relevant to the rate that they're killing one another. Dummy. That's an example of a misleading fact. And you hear that all the time in the liberal media. And so they will frequently say, oh, we don't need a wall for the border because most people who are in here illegally are from overstayed visas. Therefore, we don't need a wall. Meanwhile, you can see the people crossing the border because there is no wall. And some of them are drowning. Some of them are dying in the desert. They don't care about those people. Yeah, you'll find some of them dropping water jugs in the desert in national monuments. They'll be dropping water bottles for them, the border angels. But they don't care for them. They don't have any love for them. If they had love, they wouldn't encourage them to break the law and come in here and exploit our stuff. So that's another misleading fact, the fact that most people who are here illegally are overstayed visas. That's irrelevant because we still need the wall. People are still coming across the border. So those are examples of misleading facts. Hope that explained it, Malkuth. James is biased, says D. Bradley. Biased towards the truth. So, let me tell you, speaking of bias, there's in 5 minutes, let's see if I can do this. I was thinking yesterday, because we played on the Jesse Lee Peterson show, instead of having a live show, we did a premiere from 2007, May 3rd, 2007, Jesse Lee Peterson radio show, when it was Malcolm as producer, which none of us, I think I might have met Malcolm. And then there was another guy who was from the Bond Home for Young Men, who had just moved into the Bond Home for Young Men at age 19, back in 2007, a guy named Danny. He had a real longer name, but for short it was Danny. And he was talking about acting black, acting white. And then he had this black intellectual on about acting white, and the black intellectual sounded white. And then he had this nice Christian lady, black woman, who was talking about Christian dating or something like that, right? Well, they got into this discussion about sin and the Bible and stuff like that. This phony Christian lady, nice, but phony. Nice is phony, right? And she was justifying continuing to sin as long as it's not practice, as long as you're not making a practice out of it. Oh, there I go, Jeanette, with my air quotes. But she's directly contradicting the Bible. And the mainstream cult, this is part of that mainstream cult of sinning Christians. and I say it's mainstream because it's so widespread. You ask the average sinner, average Christian, do you sin? Yes. I'll continue to sin until the day I die. It's the flesh. And there were some live chatters in the premiere who were siding with this nutty woman. It's crazy. Really dumb. She was, what was her name again? But anyways, people were trying to accuse me, yours truly, Hake, of just agreeing with whatever Jesse Lee Peterson says, rather than addressing my point that what she said directly contradicts the Bible, and what Jesse says directly agrees with the Bible, that once you're born again, you do not sin. You cannot sin. And anyone who sins has neither seen God nor known him. It's just in the Bible, let alone what Jesse says. But the people pretend to believe in the Bible, and then they just outright contradict those verses in the Bible that say that by saying, oh, you have to look at the context. Oh, you have to look at Romans, where Paul said that he didn't understand what he did. Stuff like that. As if that means, oh, I continue to sin. Never mind what John says. But and it's funny too, because they say that and then they act like they have my number, like they're a mind reader. Anything to avoid looking at yourself, I guess. So let me just tell you about the Guardian climate report that was nuts. The Guardian is a far left outlet based in Britain, I think, UK. And they act like they know what they're talking about, basically. But they don't. They have been promoting this climate change stuff for ages. And now, like, more and more people are pretending to go along, or going along with it, really. But it's a mess. It's not a wise thing. Let me see if I can pull up the headlines. I screenshotted some of them. Here it is. Now the Pentagon tells Bush, this is an article from 15 years ago. Now the Pentagon tells Bush, climate change will destroy us. That's the Pentagon. That's the DOD, Department of Defense. And why are they thinking about so-called climate change as the Department of Defense? I don't know. Secret report warns of rioting and nuclear war. Britain will be Siberian in less than 20 years. And we're at more than 15 years since then. This is, spoiler alert, sent this to me. The threat to the world is greater than terrorism. Climate change over the next 20 years. This is from Saturday, the 21st of February, 2004. Climate change over the next 20 years could result in a global catastrophe costing millions of lives in wars and natural disasters. A secret report suppressed by defense chiefs and obtained by The Observer warns that major European cities will be sunk beneath rising seas as Britain is plunged into a Siberian climate by 2020. Nuclear conflict, mega droughts, famine, and widespread rioting will erupt across the world. Guess they were dumb about that one. They just always scaremongering, fear-mongering. It's pathetic. That's why you shouldn't really listen to that's what they say about experts. That's what Jesse Lee Peterson says about experts. Because they don't know the future. And I've seen people claiming that trucking was going to disappear in the next 10 to 20 years because of self-driving trucks. Maybe, maybe not. Not a reason not to take advantage of the job while it's there. Anyways, guys, I'll see you tomorrow on the Jesse Lee Peterson Show. And make sure, guys, come to the men's forum tonight at Bond. Go to rebuildingtheman.com/events. Rebuildingtheman.com/events. The men's forums are excellent. It's my favorite meeting of the month, although I do love the church services. I'm the producer for the church services. I make sure that they go out on online and on podcast. You can podcast them. Church service is excellent. Anyways, I'll see you guys tomorrow and tonight. The men only, though. All right, guys, take care.